Welcome to the College of Wealth podcast, the ultimate financial guide to help you understand your financial stresses and how you can build from it. Your lessons won't be in class, and your projects can either save you or earn you money. We host episodes 2 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays to help you reach your financial freedom. Now let's get started with your hosts, Owen, Paradis, and William Goulet.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Owen Paradis. I'm here with my co-host, William Goulet, and we're proud to present to you the College of Wealth podcast.
Podcast.
I love the tone variation there. I like it.
That's instability in my voice. It wasn't intentional.
Well, humor aside, this is a financial podcast that teaches you the latest and greatest information about money, because at the end of the day, this is a crazy money-making world.
Yes, crazy in multiple senses, more than one. Money-making in pretty much every sense, I guess. Yep. So I agree fully. I endorse your statement.
Like they say, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Yeah, no, that I agree. I say that like almost every day now.
Well, as you can see, we like to go and say that this podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
Okay, so yes to entertainment purposes.
Okay.
However, I sort of disagree with the only part. Because by saying that we do entertainment purposes only, I find it almost plays against some of our information that we do.
Okay.
So I get it. We want to sort of encourage people to do their own research and all that. But I think that we do provide some good research. You provide some good research, you know?
Okay, yes, I agree.
We got the stats, we got the arguments, we got supporting arguments. So yes. I say, let's consider including our information part in our pitch on top of the entertainment. Okay. Maybe if we put them together, we could do something like infotainment.
I like
Think about it, right?
I like that.
Yeah,
it's
okay,
a good play on word. I like it. It's
I think
good.
It's, I said it before. No, sorry. Yeah, it's
He has not said it before.
No, this is brand new. This is the first time I've ever brought this up.
But we like to go and call this infotainment here at the College of Wealth podcast because, in reality, both Will nor myself are financial advisors. We are not.
Certainly not me anyway, Owen.
Me either by any means here.
Yeah, true.
But we do have our bachelor's degrees in business. We do work in the business industry. So I'm just saying it because we like to go and validate the fact that we have a passion for this kind of stuff too.
Yeah, 114 episodes in, and our passion is still valid in the Gen Z way.
Yeah.
I'm adding it now as part of our intro. The Gen Z valid. It's in.
It's all good.
Even if we're at episode 300 and no one uses that term anymore, I'm still going in.
But we also have 2 other reasons why we do this podcast, and it's for 2 particular reasons.
Well,
that
I'd like to
complement.
jump in. Yeah, okay. I'd like to jump in, and maybe I can tackle some of those reasons.
Okay.
Number 1, it's a money-making world, right? So what do we have to do to make money?
Yeah.
We have to love to make money, right?
For sure.
And the other alternative is, if you're not making money, you still want to increase your net worth, what do we have to do? We have to save money, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we do at the end of the day.
It's true.
You're waiting for it. It's not happening.
No, but you said it so well. You said it. You said it so clean. I liked it. I liked it.
Thank you very much.
But without further ado, we have episode 114 to jump in here.
Mm-hmm.
And before I say the title, our listeners obviously know the title, but I got to go and say a little bit. I got to go and give a little bit of, if you haven't done so, make sure to go and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Go and check us out on YouTube at College of Wealth Podcast, or go and check out our Instagram at College of Wealth Podcast as well.
And if you're watching on YouTube, leave a like, leave a subscribe.
Yes.
Leave a comment or suggestion even.
Yes, that would be awesome. We like to have new ideas. Really appreciate it. So I had to go in that very quickly.
And
And
if you would like to get a hold of us, another great place to get a hold of us is on our Instagram. What I find to be our most personalized and the most, I don't know how to say, most developed and best themed social media.
Very
I really
clean.
like the look of it. It's we post updates on our stories there, and 3 times a week there's going to be we're either putting up quotes, content review. Is that about it? Quotes,
and
content
just
review?
recaps of the episodes.
And recaps of episodes, exactly. And all of that in our nice. We got to come up with a nice word to coin it, but a nice College of Wealth podcast theme.
Yes, it's true. So good way to sell, pitch the College of Wealth pod on Instagram here. But
It's currently our most popular platform.
it is.
So right on.
And now that we got that covered, we're going to speak about episode 114. And we covered similar topics to this here, but I need to go in a little bit of nitty gritty on this here, and you'll understand why.
I'm still waiting for the
The best ways to negotiate a salary when you get a new job.
Oh, yes, upon entry.
Upon entry, we
Yeah.
spoke about asking for a raise and things like that, how to increase your chances of getting a job, different things like that. But we never really spoke about the best ways to negotiate a salary with a new job.
Yeah, sure. I agree.
So the way we have it formatted is we have four different steps that you should be taking. So I'm not gonna be talking about them right now because they go in chronological order.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And are we going to start this with a particular segment of...
Not today. No.
No stat man today?
No. There are no stats today.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I have a stat for you.
Wait. We need to start the podcast.
What's that?
We need to start the podcast.
Okay. All right. You drive.
Okay. Now, without further ado, we're going to start with our first stat.
Oh, the surprise stat man. He comes in kicking.
We obviously have to start with stats. I have stats for this.
I was gonna say 100% of the time that there are no stats will get sad. That was gonna be my stat.
Well, you will not be sad because we got stats, obviously.
Two thumbs up for me.
Our first stat, Will, you were pretty good last episode. Let's see how good you'll be.
Oh,
What percentage?
Don't build me up like that.
What percentage of people fail to negotiate a salary after receiving a job offer?
Oh, I bet you it's most people, because most people are thankful to get the job that they're targeting.
Yep.
So I'm going to say negotiate a salary, 75% fail to negotiate a job salary.
You're on the right track, but it's a little lower. 61%.
Oh, okay, that's not as bad. So
No,
bang on.
it's not. It's not that bad of a guess here. The vast majority of people fail to negotiate and have the same idea, thinking that they can't negotiate. They're just thankful they got the job offer.
Yeah.
Our secondary stat is regards to job offers in the United States. What percent of job offers are just flat out rejected in the USA? And this is according to Glassdoor.
Oh, job offers rejected?
Yes.
I'd say maybe 30% have something else lined up, or they prefer the status quo.
17.3%.
Whoa, even less.
Approximately 1 in 6 job offers are rejected.
So 5 out of 6 offers are accepted. That's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah, it's actually very surprising. Our third stat, the last two stats are very I'll let you be the judge for being flabbergasting or not.
Okay.
And what percentage of resumes are rejected before they even reach the hiring manager?
Oh, I'd say 35% are rejected.
Try 75%.
Whoa. Okay, that is a little bit. Yeah. I'm shocked.
So 3 out of 4 resumes are just flat out shot out, and that's because of what they call ATS, so application tracking systems. They
And
just automatically sort them out. This is not qualified. That doesn't have the terms. It'd be interesting to know how many of them are actually qualified, but just didn't use the right term for the ATS to properly sort.
Yeah, that seems. If I were an employer or a hiring manager, I'd be concerned of 100 applications go through, 75 got rejected. Really? Let's do an audit of those. See if that we didn't miss anyone good.
But our second stat kind of sort of, or I should say our fourth stat kind of sort of demonstrate as to why there are ATSs in softwares.
Okay.
Do you want to take what the average amount of resumes is? Just around about average. It's not set in stone, but it's what they assume is the average for resumes for corporate jobs.
Oh, how many resumes per job?
Correct. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, if it throws out 75%, let's say there's...
This is people who have applied. How many people apply for a job on average?
Okay. Well, I've been
Corporate
at that
job.
point where you're sort of going through stuff and you're just applying to a bunch, see what
Yes.
bites.
Yep.
So, let's say, to an average job, 120 people apply.
Double
that seems
that.
high. Oh, really? Okay,
Approximate
that's the
200
flabbergasting one.
250 applications for a corporate job. Think like a Fortune 500 of some kind.
Holy moly. Okay, that's the flabbergasting one. I sort of get the 75% just write them off at this point.
But here again, these are averages, and these are just assumptions.
Sure.
And of that 250 people, how many do you think get interviewed?
The top 10, 15. Yeah.
So 10% would be
10% would be
10% of
25,
250,
a little bit
25.
less than 10%.
Okay,
Let's call it
so
8, 7%.
well, 4 to 6 typically get called for an interview.
My God.
So that would be like 1.5 to 2%.
But I guess that's subject to a manual review of the ones that make it through the filtering system.
And then one person gets the job.
Yeah, 1 out of 250 does seem pretty high. But then 1 out of 12, that's a lot better. That seems more likely.
It is. So the odds are very unlikely. The sorting is extremely big because there's a lot of applicants, and it's very extensive. There's a lot of work that's involved in hiring someone.
I see.
And it brings into our first section. So let's say you are very lucky and they offered you. You were that one person out of that 250 who got that job offer.
So that means you made it. First of all, you've done your due diligence. You've applied already. You've made it through their filtering system. You've made it to the hiring manager. They've selected you from the top applicants. They've interviewed you, maybe even second or third, depending on the type of job.
Yep.
And now you have your offer.
The first thing you want to do is, let's say they give you the offer. Typically, they have a salary. Mm-hmm. And even before you accept that offer, you know where you are in life and the industry that you're in.
Yes.
And do your research and due diligence.
Okay.
If you are starting and you are in business and they offer you $100,000 salary,
$100,000 for a starting?
Yeah. But you're there and it's like, well, okay, well maybe I can get 120,000. It's like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Research the industry that you're in.
Yeah.
And it's like extremely dangerous of some kind or something like that, or there's high turnover rates or and those are things that you should consider.
Yeah.
And or it could go the other way around. You're looking at the job itself, and you know that people in corporate banking, they're offering you a $30,000 a year job with a bachelor's degree, and you're looking at the industry average and it's $60,000. Let's say $55,000. Let's say 55. The average is 55,000. Well, you're there as well. Maybe that's where you can go and give some wiggle room. Say like there's a little bit more. Like maybe they're lowballing you here.
And you do have to watch out. And sometimes that can be a little bit off-putting. I don't know about you, Owen, but let's say the industry average is, let's just say a number, 60,000, and they're shooting at you at 38.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be a little bit off-putting for you, saying, okay, do I have to rethink what kind of company this is? Like, well, I'm trying to create a relationship here. You know?
It actually brings us to our second point here, and it's get to know the company itself.
Oh yeah.
Is it a startup? Is it a Fortune 500? Are they notorious for underpaying their staff? Are they notorious for giving good benefits? Those are all different things you got to look at as well.
Yeah, true. Because your upfront salary isn't good, maybe they offer you flexibility that no one else can offer. Things like that, right?
Mm-hmm. And my first job was working at a startup. And I was literally employee number one. I was I was their first physical employee. That's cool. Yeah, and it was really awesome. I got to have some says, and like literally first day, he was asking me questions like, "What do you think we should do?" And I thought it was really, really fun to do that. We cracked jokes, we had a good time, and when it was time to be serious, it was time to be serious. Yeah. But I was getting paid peanuts.
True.
And I had very little hours as well. Awesome guy. Really, really good guy.
Because at the beginning, startups can't afford to pay quite as well, and it's hard for them to compete with some of these big companies, right? Mm-hmm.
Or on the flip side, I was working commercial banking, my next job. It was a step up, but for the experience I had towards the end, I was actually getting paid I was getting paid less than industry averages.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was in a not-for-profit organization, so they pay less.
And sometimes that can be sometimes you'll be getting paid less, but it's a cause that's close to your heart. It's more fulfilling work, and more endearing. And sometimes you are willing to take that pay cut, for
sure.
It going for a deeper meaning than just money.
Yes, and I'll admit it was a very rewarding job.
Nice.
I've had literally people cry on the phone saying, we were rejected everywhere and you're the first ones to accept it. And they were insanely good clients. Wow. And they gave us shout outs and everything.
That's amazing.
But again, those are certain things you got to think about when you get that offer, even before considering accepting it or not. Yeah. The other thing is, if you decide to do your research, and we've said this in previous episodes recently as well, and that would be the fact that Glassdoor, Monster, or anything like that will encapsulate everything all together, like the country that you're in or the world. Like, this is what the industry average is for the world, or this is how much it. So don't expect to get the same salary as someone in the United States in New York City. Or don't expect to get the same salary as someone who's in Brazil or someone who's in, I'm just naming any type of country right now. Everyone, or in Norway, you're going to have totally different salaries.
Well, we've talked about, let's say, the value of education. The value of education, let's say, in France. I say France because I've been there.
Yep.
I find it's less valued than education here, because someone with a master's degree is basically the bare minimum in France, whereas here it might be tending more towards a bachelor's degree or maybe even a college degree, right?
Yeah. And like we were saying, education depreciation.
Exactly. Yeah. As it becomes globally available, the value of it diminishes.
Exactly. And the last component to this, towards this first point, that will put things into perspective for you when you get that job offer, is to understand what position that you're in job-wise. Are you with or without a job? If you are with a job, you have a lot more leverage.
Yeah.
Because you can just fall back to your current position and not have to worry about it. But if you're without a job and you have bills to pay, maybe you don't want to risk. Maybe you don't want to risk it, or maybe you won't want to ask for 5 or 10% more. Maybe ask for 2% more instead.
Yeah, true. How daring you are! You should consider the average, the industry average.
Yep.
Your qualifications, and your current position, your negotiation power.
Yes. It brings us forward to our second segment, our second point, and that is your personality.
Oh, yes. Okay.
When it comes to doing your interview, so let's say we're saying you got called for an interview and you did your interview. If you left a good impression, obviously you did, and they want to hire you, that's great. But there's a difference between being a good presenter of yourself and being a great presenter of yourself.
Whoa, okay, one more time for me, Owen.
There's a difference between being a good presenter of yourself
Yeah.
and being a great presenter of yourself.
Between good and great. Yes, of course.
Without going over the cocky side or arrogant side of yourself.
Yeah, let's assume that the competence matches the presentation.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And there are a lot of people who will be perceived as arrogant if they start saying the certain points that they are, and they start flaunting it or any type of way to show off. They catch that. They're human. They're human. So if you go and say they go and offer you a $55,000 a year, and you go and say, "I want 80,000. I feel I'm worth that." That may not jive too well with them.
Yeah, and it can often leave a bad impression. Same as when someone tries to lowball you, you might have a negative impression of them.
Yes.
The opposite can happen. If you say, actually, I'd like 80 because I think I'm worth that, and let's say you're not able to make a great case for it, it's like, okay, is this guy just going to try and drain money out of us every single year? Yep. Is this guy a poison pill, or is this guy going to be our next investment,
Exactly. It's their outlook, their future outlook for you is taken into consideration.
Yeah. No
Huge
doubt.
thing. I like it. The second thing I got to go and say for this too is read the atmosphere. When you're doing an interview, one of my most stressful interviews was actually my job at that commercial bank.
Okay.
They drilled me hard. Like they asked question after question after question, and this was like a borderline entry level job, and I was answering everything.
And was this when you had already been doing co-ops over there?
Yes. Yeah.
So despite all that, they're still drilling you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what I did like was the executive director stepped up to bat for me, saying, "Hey, like he's known this," and she knew me personally as well. So the board was the one who asked me these questions. I'd try to answer, and then she would kind of sort of fill in the gap for me. And I liked that. I had good vibes and was able to work with that.
Yeah, true.
Versus my current position, I absolutely just really meshed well with them. I understood they were easygoing, playful people who enjoyed communicating. So I was able to work with that as well. But if you have serious people, it's maybe not best to start cracking jokes with them.
Yeah. Well, know your audience is so huge, right?
Yes.
Not only for interviewing, but as well as when
In
you're
life.
going back. Yeah.
In life.
Do these people want to get along with you, or are they straight to business, or are they maybe a little bit of both? Or do they want you to talk about growing their business and talking in terms of their business? Because it's not just about you. It's not just about them. Sometimes it's about saying, well, here's what I'm thinking I can contribute to this business, and
Yes.
and know your people and have your personality suit it, which I'd like to add.
Okay.
Personality-wise, I'd like to go back to the quote of the day, which, if you'll remember this week, is Tiger Woods is our quotee of the week. I'm the quoter of the week of every time, I guess.
Yeah.
But Tiger Woods, he has a personality to always improve himself, right? And here's what he says. He says, no matter how good you get, you can always get better, and that's the exciting part. And
yes, it's true.
And it speaks miles about who he is. He gets excited that he can keep getting better, and that's what motivates him. And if you're able to read the person that's interviewing you, then you can sort of play to that advantage, and that's what will help you to either stand out or negotiate even better for your raise.
I like it. That's an awesome way. That perfect way to slide in the quote of the day.
Thank you.
Very well made. Our third point to this here is you need to understand that a lot of people are open to negotiations.
Mm-hmm. True.
But you also need to understand the company culture along with it.
Yes.
Like you were saying, if they are straight to business and they're very serious, they may not have that type of personality that be open to negotiation. And if you are someone who is very bureaucratic and into that kind of stuff, then that might work very well for you.
True.
It may be amazing. But if you're someone who is more extroverted, let's say like you and I, who like having conversations. I had an interview. I remember having an interview. I think I've told you this, the one that asked me 3 different times, 3 different ways about it, if I wanted to work overtime, I was okay to work overtime.
Yeah, he did tell me that.
But I was trying to break the ice with the interviewer.
Yeah.
Just trying to say like lighthearted jokes, like just in a way that people would be able to enjoy it and just have a moment.
Build some rapport. Yeah.
Yes. And it was shot down the entire way. And
wow, that seems like a fun.
Oh yeah.
I remember you specifically telling me, they're like, how do you feel about expected, uncompensated overtime? What? Can you make this less interesting, please?
Yeah. It was ridiculous. And when I finished that interview, I was there and I'm like, I got this job. I'm almost certain of it, and I don't want it.
Yeah.
I'm almost, and 2 days later, they call me saying, "Hey, we would like to offer you the position. Thank you, but I'm not interested."
Yeah.
And I remember them saying, "Oh, well, this is not the outcome I was expecting. I hate to break it to you, but I'm not interested." Like,
yeah, and it sometimes it's almost audacious for them to say that, because that's what people who interview and who don't perform at interviews feel like all the time. Wow, I'm sorry I didn't meet your expectations. It's very disappointing. I thought it went well, and
yeah.
For them to not be prepared for the opposite reaction.
For sure.
Very, very unique.
It gave you an idea of what I would be stepping into at that point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. True. If you can't deliver them, if it's hard to deliver bad news to them, just in the interview / offering stage. Oh man, imagine working
when you're
for
actually
them.
working for them.
True.
Our last point, though, is talking about quote unquote them.
Okay.
And when you're being interviewed of some kind, you need to
The employer.
Yes, I'm talking about the employer.
Okay. Great.
You're being or the recruiter, HR, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
You need to try, and this is my piece of info. Like, this is my tip that has worked for me countless times.
Mm-hmm.
Try and have moments, whether it be moments or just be one question, to make them talk about themselves.
Oh yes.
I'm not talking about the organization. Talk about themselves. Ask them about their career growth. Ask them how they enjoy the job. Ask whether you want to make a spin on it, instead of saying, what is it day to day? Like, what do you do day to day? Like, what would I be expecting day to day?
Mm-hmm.
How do you enjoy working at the company?
Nice.
Or what do you, and they're going to always talk about themselves, because people like talking about themselves.
Yeah.
And you'll get a very good idea of what the genuine company culture is through a question like that.
Oh, true. And you want that. But even if it's not salary, you definitely want to get a good idea of what you're getting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And because they have their lines that they have to say, but if you throw a curveball and you ask them about themselves,
yeah,
they almost every time I spoke to an interviewer, they've spoken about like what they like, and they'll talk about the company culture, but they'll talk about like just all the nitty-gritty stuff that you would not hear in an interview.
True.
And it makes it that much more genuine, and you get a better idea of what's going on without actually stepping into the company itself.
Yeah, and you get to create a deeper rapport with that person.
Yes.
I remember I was interviewing for a position. This was my last interview, and it was with an executive leadership.
Okay.
And this person was late for the interview because they're very busy and all that. So I had some time in the lobby, and I saw there was a quarter century club plaque. People who had been there for 25 years, and there were plaques on plaques on plaques. I'm like, man, that's a lot of people. So I did a rough estimation. I'm like, that's about, I don't know. I'm just gonna give a random number, 300. Let's just say it's a company of 3,000 people. I'm like, 10%, 25 years plus. So at the end of the interview, I say, I was just looking out front, and it looks like you got lots of quarter century club. Roughly speaking, I'm counting like 300 plus. It's 10%. I'm like, what are you doing to help contribute to that and keep securing those key team members? Yeah. And immediately it links the organization, it links that person and their management skills, and they get to open up. And having a key question like that, I totally agree, Owen. It's a nice way to reach them.
Yes, it's not just about you, it's about us now.
Right, exactly, yeah. And you're saying, in my particular question, you're saying, how are you going to keep me for 25 years? Which gives that nice impression of, hey, he's in for the long run.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And it brings us to our third point. Mm-hmm. Because we're talking about us here. If you have a little bit of issues with negotiations, or you're kind of concerned of doing that kind of stuff, imagine negotiating with your friend. Okay. Negotiating with a friend is totally different. And usually there's no bars down when it comes to that. And you let your emotions kind of sort of tailor or guide your position when it comes to negotiating. Now, I'm not saying to use emotions. You shouldn't.
I was interested to see where you're going there.
No, I'm just saying, that's what I'm saying is it's a term of comfort.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You're going to negotiate like as if you're negotiating with a friend, but in this case scenario, use logic instead of emotions.
Yeah, like in Monopoly, if your friend's going to offer you a bad deal, you're not going to say, okay, fine, I'll take it. You're going to say, hold on, let's work something out here, because this deal stinks.
Exactly.
It stinks, Frankie.
And you start negotiating different points of it there.
Yeah.
And it brings us to our second point within it, and it's what?
You gotta, the top one is segment, and then it's point under it. Because I hear second point, I'm like, oh, we're on the second segment. And you're like, now that brings us to our second segment portion.
So segments is a second segment. We got 4 segments, and we got 4 different points per segment.
Oh, okay, great, fantastic. Okay, yes, I'm following along.
Yeah, so there's 4 segments, 4 points for each of them.
Okay,
this is the third segment, second point.
Okay, I'm on board.
And for this here, if you're asking for a higher pay, or if you're planning on doing that, talk facts. And we said about that. And how do you talk facts? Talk about industry averages. Talk about your accomplishments. Talk about your certifications. Talk about certain things that validate you. Like we're saying about emotions, we said it beforehand. Don't say, I feel like I should be getting paid that. Don't use the word feel. Don't add feelings. Talk facts.
A good replacement, instead of saying I feel, and you can replace this and still say the exact same sentence, say I think. And
yes.
This replaces it with it keeping emotion out of it, bringing it straight to the classic facts and logic. And it also keeps an element of, look, I have some wiggle room. We can negotiate here. By saying it needs to be is not good.
No.
I think brings a bit of an interrogative angle.
Openness.
It opens up, exactly. It opens up the conversation.
You're not ruling with a hammer here. You're saying this is just a situation. This is a proposition that I see. I see you offered this. I acknowledge it. However, like it's just an example. Like, hey, I noticed that you offer $55,000. I feel like I feel like I deserve 60,000 versus instead of saying, I noticed that you offered me 55,000. If we look at industry standards, the industry standards is approximately $60,000 a year. And
I think I fit best within that average.
yes, I think with the qualifications that I have, with the points that we demonstrated, I feel like I fit with a $60,000 salary. Let me know
Yep.
what you think. Thank you
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, exactly. And that can be done by email. I mean, conversation is always more personable,
Yes.
but even by email, if you're nervous about going on the phone, you can always email, and that lowers the amount of direct stress that goes into it. You're still
Yep.
going to be stressed sending it and be like, okay, send, but that won't appear
No.
to who you're talking to.
No, exactly. That you won't see the stress or anything like that, unless of course you're using emojis, which we don't recommend at all.
It better be extremely appropriate to a specific situation if you're going to do it. Or you better have joked about it in the interview.
Yes. Our third point, however, to the third segment is to word it in a way, like if you want to feel the stress of that, you want to actually recreate the stress, go and ask your friend about the money they owe you.
Okay, that's pretty stressful.
Yeah, it's stressful. You're
Yeah.
you're treading on thin ice when
true.
you're asking for money back from your friend.
That's true.
And so you're not going to use corporate jargon with your friends there, but you start wording things, you start thinking things through when you're going to do and ask that question. So
Well, it's a similar type of thinking. You're right.
yes, you're watching your wording,
Yeah.
and instead of saying, "Hey, you owe me money, give me my money back," you start saying, "Hey," you start talking facts. "Hey, I just a heads up. I borrowed you some money last week, and you said that this week you would offer it by chance."
Lent you some money.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, I lent you some money. I lent you some money, and last week, and you said you'd have it covered this week. What's the update on that? What's the update on something like this?
Yes.
And it's going to be taken a lot better than if you just flat out said it more aggressively.
That is an awesome tip, Owen. I really like that. And even if you don't have a situation like that, think of it as if you did have a situation like
Yes.
that. It gets you thinking in a way to add tact and decency into your conversation.
Yeah.
Not always expectation, but it keeps it a nice. It opens up dialogue once again, and it's very open.
Good.
Great tip. I think that's my favorite one so far.
Well, it makes me even happier because that was a tip that I created myself.
Oh, really? No,
Yeah,
that's
that was-
awesome, dude. That's wicked.
And our fourth point to this third segment is a sense of reality here. You had 250, let's say 250 applicants. They interviewed 4 to 6 people. They had to sort through all that crap. No offense to all the applicants here, but they had to go through all that work. And you're going to go...
Hypothetical applicants, please don't be offended. No offense, guys.
I'm always worried to offend people here.
The very Canadian podcast, we can change this to.
But in this scenario, it's a lot of work. And if you're going to go and ask for 2%, 4%, 5%, 10% more, something that's not extraordinary, let's say you're asking for that extra $5,000, are they really going to go and reject you now because of that?
True.
No, if anything, they're going to go and say, we can't do 60,000, but we can maybe do 57.5.
Yeah.
Meet you right in the middle. And you just got yourself an extra $2,500 before taxes, mind you,
True.
in your pocket.
Yeah, and let's not. I don't know if we talk about this, but let's not forget the impact of having a higher salary at the start of your job.
Yes.
And then that it effectively gives you a compound interest as you keep renegotiating a percentage point every year.
Yeah.
It's a compounding effect. So that first salary negotiation, in some ways, might be your most important one of your whole career.
It's a really good point. A good person I watched on YouTube was called Jeff Sue. He's the one who brought up the point of asking a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to take full credit of everything, but I was the one who said about the lending money component.
Yeah,
But
it applies.
yeah, but he was the one who brought up the fact that he kind of said if you started at 50,000 and then you asked for the 55,000.
Mm-hmm.
He says, assuming a 6% a year growth. And I'm like, oh my God, 6% salary increase. That is insane.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, we'll work with the 6%. And he said something like an extra $400,000 in your lifetime that you're going to bring in.
Oh, wow. Over that first negotiation.
Yes, over that first. And that's only if you decide to stay at that position. That doesn't include any promotions or anything like that.
Yeah, and then cross-industry and ups and...
Yeah. Random pandemics and record high inflations.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that'll be an interesting one, eh? How to approach the cost of living and inflation on your next raise.
Yeah.
Because if we're at 8%, what are you going to do? Ask for 8%? What if you actually want to raise on top of that? Ask for 10? Ask for 12? 15? What are you going to ask for?
Why not ask for 25?
Yeah, at that point. It might make a great topic, actually, how to approach aggressive increases. Because, man,
it's true.
Man.
Anyways. You bring up a good point, and this is, it kind of reverts back to we haven't really spoken about the aggressive approach, but we spoke about previously asking for a raise.
Yeah, we have.
And talking about asking for things, it brings us to our fourth segment, and that's to always be reasonable and when to know when to walk away.
Oh, yes.
And there's nothing wrong about walking away, but there's also a point of being reasonable. So they're going to go, the industry average is 65,000 with your experience, but you're there. It's like, well, I'm worth more. I'm going to ask for 75,000. And they said, we can maybe bring you up to 68. No, I'm only doing 75. They have a right to say that, and it doesn't make them a bad company of any kind. You just need to understand that what you want and what they want are two different things.
And they work on budgets too, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have to actually go back and ask their manager and put themselves on the line, asking for more money, saying, I got someone who's really awesome here. Can I get some more money? That it's daring for them to ask that too.
Yes.
It's exposure. Tough. They're exposing themselves for you.
Exactly. And on the other hand, on the employee side, or the person who's going to be taking on this new position, you need to understand your walk away point.
Yes.
Figure out what your walk away point. Like I was saying at one point when I was looking at my jobs, I'm making these numbers up here, but I wanted a job no less than $60,000 a year from my next position. It was 60,000, and I said, depending on the industry, I would do 55,000. It's still a bump up from what I had beforehand, and then my current position, I was there, and it's like, you know what? I can't do anything less than 62,000 because it's not really the most desirable location, and it's also like, I mean, the industry is not necessarily the most desirable industry. So I was like, I would do no less. Again, these are just hypothetical of what's of those instances there.
Sure.
And I would do no less than that. And they actually went and said, actually, you're coming in. They were open about it and saying you're actually coming in below our budget.
Wow.
They were open about it, and they offered me more.
Yeah, that's
those are rare instances.
Yeah,
because they could easily go and say, "All right, we're gonna get them at a steal of a deal."
Yeah, and this, I mean, anyways, I don't want to go on about the different incentives, but
exactly, it's actually it was actually the second point I was going to bring up to this here.
Oh,
know the difference between salary with benefits and salary without benefits.
Oh, true. You and I are in the two different situations right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I have a contract job. I have no benefits of any kind, and it sucks because I don't have I don't have healthcare. I don't have, like, I mean, other than the Canadian healthcare system or any kind like that. But I have to pay for my own insurance. I have to go in.
Dental.
Dental, that is so expensive. I need to go and get my own. I don't have an RRSP plan with a company of any kind. I have to create my own plan. And that adds up. That adds up over time. And that's several thousands of dollars a year.
Absolutely.
But that's why they pay me more.
And one of the difference between me, I get an end of year bonus as well, based on performance. Do you do you have anything like that?
No, I actually, that's a bit for a contract employee. We don't get any of the bonuses. Our bosses do, but we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not dissing them. It's just that because we're not technically part of the company. We're contract employees.
What you do get is overtime, though.
Yes, because I'm not a salaried employee. Even my bosses have said, you end up working overtime, put it down.
Yeah,
we have to pay you for that. And I've given in crap. Well, I worked an extra 2 hours. Big whoop. No, put it down.
Dude, I would
put
write
in extra
down
time
every time.
Well, it was just different things, and they were honest about it. And it's like, you know what? Thank you for being open about that. And I wrote it down, and I get time and a half if I end up working over 44 hours here in Ontario.
Yeah, the difference with that. And anyways, we can get we can go.
We can get very deep into it.
Yeah.
Our third point, though, for this segment is to gauge the reaction when you place that counteroffer.
Yes.
And whether it be an email reply, whether it be face-to-face, whether it be however way.
If you send that email, look through your screen and see how they're reading it.
Yes.
Look what face they're doing. Are they smiling when they're reading your email? No, I'm kidding.
But in these instances, you could just figure out how they reply. And if they seem to be more apprehensive or aggressive because of this, and they're trying to push you to get that, that may not be a good sign.
Yes.
Because when you're trying to ask for a raise, that's going to be a pain in the butt to do.
True.
And
another one is if you start talking about, I had a question about salary. If you preface it like that, and you see them sort of go with a cheeky smile and go like, we're having this conversation. Okay, this is the kind of person who does ask for this. And you see a smile that's sort of an appreciation for that step of the process. Then sometimes you can immediately gauge saying, okay, they're expecting this, so maybe I can make my counter at this or at that according to their reaction. So I totally agree. That's the advantage of having it face to face, is reading body language.
Exactly. And two last points to say here, and I'll go through them quickly. It's if you want to make a more compelling counteroffer, be specific. Mm-hmm. If you make an offer, let's say $65,700, this is what I want my salary to be. Mm-hmm. It kind of sort of demonstrates that you put in research on your offer. It'd be different if it's $65,759 or something like that. But if you're being specific, like the 700 of that kind, they may be more inclined to stay towards that. Oh, I don't want to go in the middle with this here. Now we're getting into decimals and all that. Maybe we'll just round it off to, we'll give you 64,000 instead of the 60,000.
Right.
So it's more in your favor, pushing you there.
One I'd like to add is see if you can, during your research, see if you can find any information that pertains to their company specifically.
Yes.
If you're able to start talking in their terms, maybe you know how they evaluate different grades and stuff like that. If you're able to start talking in their terms, you just ask them questions. You say, I was doing a little bit of studying and I was seeing this and that. And what kind of position is this role here? And what grade? What is the grade for this? You can ask those questions directly. Mm-hmm. And say, if there's a range from, I'm just going to say 60 to 70,000 and you got a 62,000, you're like, so I might consider to be in the lower grade. That's curious because, and then you go back to your resume, your previous experience, right?
Yep. It's a good point. And my last point, like you're saying here, is that nothing is official until you sign on the dotted line.
True.
You could accept verbally an offer, but it's not set in stone.
It's true.
Until you sign on that dotted line, you can do whatever you want. Will it sound better if you say 58 and then after you sign and say, actually, no, I want 60? That may not look good, but but even then, I've seen it before where they say, we'll give you 60K, and then on the papers itself, it says 58.
Okay, yeah.
They try to pull
weird.
a quick one. They pull a quick one on you, and it's like, hey, this is not what I accepted here.
And vice versa. If hopefully you'll never get in this scenario, but if you've somehow only done your research after getting an offer, and that you agreed to the offer verbally, and you say, hold on, this is way under range. There's nothing wrong with saying, look, I'm looking at this, I'm comparing online, I did some research again. If you haven't done it, you can say again, and it'll sound a little bit better. I did a little bit more further research, and it looks like I'm way under the average. Like, am I seeing this wrong here, or how are you guys getting that number? And then you can get somewhere from that, right?
For sure.
Oh, last one. Ask open-ended questions. If you're looking for justification, ask open-ended questions just so that they don't answer yes or no, but that they actually start explaining.
They have to give clarification.
Exactly. Yeah, and from there you'll get more tools on your end, right?
Really good point to bring up there. I like that, Will.
Thank you.
So with that being said, this concludes episode 114, the best ways to negotiate your salary with a new job.
Right on. That was fun.
It was a good episode. Really good episode. So with that being said, my name is Owen Paradis. I'm here with my co-host, William Goulet, and we're proud to present to you the College of Wealth podcast. Peace.
This has been your daily dose of motivation with the College of Wealth podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to leave us a positive review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for listening, and until next episode.